G'day guys, and welcome to our very first episode of our Australia trip recapped. We're Hayley and Brad, and this is a brand new video series that we are doing on our channel.
Our Australia trip recap, episode 1. The aim of this video series is basically just to give you a bit more of an in-depth deep dive into what goes into making our videos, the trials and tribulations that we go through that may not necessarily make it to our channel, and yeah, just like some behind the scenes and
just like a general recap of our week as well.
Yeah, a bit more of a chat, like a bit more of a different format, and something that you don't necessarily need to be glued to the screen for. You could be sitting in your kitchen making dinner, have the TV running, and we can just be yakking in the background. So yeah, something just a bit more personal and a bit more open, I would say.
Yeah, because our travel episodes that go out once a fortnight are very polished, and they're kind of the highlight reel of when we were at that place. We don't put a lot of insight into them in terms of our general travel and our general life.
Yeah.
So we kind of thought that this would be an opportunity to talk more about that, because whilst we don't necessarily put it into those videos, we know that it's something that a lot of people are interested in, seeing the realities behind the scenes, that sort of thing. Yeah,
and we may not film those little tidbits, but at least we can come back to this series and these episodes and just go over little things that may have happened that didn't make it to the video.
So what we're thinking is, because our travel episodes come out once a fortnight, so we have 2 videos a month, these recap episodes can come out on the odd weeks where we don't usually put out a video. So that way we'll have a video coming out each week. One week it will be a normal travel episode, and then the next week it will be a recap episode. Yeah,
so in the recap episodes, obviously we'll have some tidbits from the episode that just went live the week before, and we'll also have a few segments that will keep the same, and things that we can talk about, and it's
and kind of
format.
A real-time update as well, because the thing with YouTube is YouTube time is a lot different to real time. For example, at the moment we are on the Gibb River Road and it's mid-September, whereas our episode that just went live on the weekend was from Exmouth, and that was filmed around end of July, start of August. So there is that delay. So these recap episodes as well will be a chance for us to talk more in current time about what's going on, and then you'll be able to see the polished episode in a few months' time when it comes out. So let's jump into our first segment that we'll start all the episodes off with, which is where are we currently? Which is the Gibb.
We're not on the Gibb, we're actually in the Gibb. Where you see us right now, we are sitting in the middle of the Gibb River.
The Gibb River.
Yeah. So we've been on this road for about 2 weeks now, and we're travelling with some good mates of ours, Derek and Sue from Just Fanning It, and little Bobby. It's been a real blast. It has been quite challenging, in terms of travelling. I think it's probably one of the most challenging and trips that we've done. But we're sort of cruising along with Derek and Sue and looking after their dog when there's national park things that they might want to do, and vice versa. So yeah, it's worked out well, and it's so good to have an extra team to bounce off. There's been quite a few trials and tribulations along our way, so
things going wrong and just needing to adapt all the time, and it's just when you're with people and it's doing it as a team and working together.
You can combine your resources and make it seriously, we've run into quite a few issues along the way, but we've both been able to put our heads together and help each other out in different aspects of it. So it's been really good.
So for those of you who are not sure what the Gibb is, this time last year we did Cape York, which was a super remote track that you do for like a couple of weeks, and then the Gibb River Road is the same sort of thing but in Western Australia, except for we're finding it's even more remote.
Way more remote.
Like,
yeah.
You can't really get food along here. We've even had some issues getting other things like fuel and gas, which we'll go more into when the episodes come out.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely a lot more remote than what we thought.
Yeah.
But because it's so remote, and I feel like when we're at Cape York, we didn't spend a lot of time up there. We probably didn't spend enough time up there.
Yeah.
Whereas this time around doing the Gibb, we've gone like the opposite side of things, hey, and we've spent heaps of time up here, 2 weeks already, and we've still got at least another week to go.
Yeah.
And we're like kind of seeing every single thing that we
Yeah.
can possibly see.
It is like it's a big trip to be doing. Like you're doing a lot of kilometers, you're seeing a lot of things. It's very exhausting. It's hot. Like it is a massive undertaking to do this for 3 weeks. It's definitely a bit of a marathon, this sort of trip. So compared to our usual, style of traveling.
Yeah. But it's also good to have these like challenging trips, because they're the ones that you in years to come you'll look back on and remember like with the fondest memories, because you actually had to like work hard for it to happen.
I reckon as soon as we hit the bitumen, we'll be like, oh, how good was that trip?
Yeah.
And something that we'll probably be talking about around a campfire in many years to come.
We've been having so much fun, and I'm really excited like when you put these episodes together for them to come out and see like the polished version of it. But it's also a reason why we wanted to do these recap episodes now, is to kind of share a bit more insights into behind the scenes too. Because it's not all polished and
it's not all roses.
So speaking of, it's not all sunshine and rainbows, we thought that something that we could do in these episodes was our peak and our pit of the week, our highlight and our low light. And the peak, the highlight, is kind of a good chance for us to verbalize to each other like what our actual favorite thing was, because we're doing all these cool, amazing experiences all the time, but we never actually like stop and reflect back on them and talk about them to each other. So that's that. And then the pit, the low light of the week, is a good opportunity for us to keep it real and share some of the challenges that happen as well.
So I reckon, do you want me to start off with my pit? So my pit of the week would have to be doing the Gibb River right at the back end of the dry season. Like everything closes in about a fortnight up here, so it is coming into the wet season, and it is so hot. It is like heat wave. Like if you were living in a capital city like Sydney or Melbourne, they would say that this is a heat wave. It is 35 degrees every day without question.
But it's not just like 35 degrees. We've been in that heat before and we've been fine. It's just that, what is it, like the humidity, or like...
I don't know, it's just constant.
Just so hot.
It's overbearing. Like when the sun is overhead, you got like maybe, 3 hours or 4 hours in the morning to get what you want to do done, and then as soon as sort of like 10 o'clock rolls around, it's like sweltering outside, and all you want to do is sit in the shade and drink water, because so it definitely adds an extra layer of like, I wouldn't say stress, but I don't know, it's just like uncomfortable, and you got to make sure that you're organised in the way that you do things, and especially with us filming and doing experiences, we're pretty go, so we don't get a lot of downtime. We don't give ourselves a lot of downtime, so the heat has really been taking its toll, and I don't deal well in heat, and I've been quite bothered.
Hot and
would
bothered.
You say? Hot and bothered is definitely something that I can feel.
I can attest to that. But nah, that's all good. And what was your peak of the week?
Oh, the peak, mate. We went up to this place up north of Columbaroo. So being on the Gibb River Road, I think is about 600 kilometres of dirt. And at this point right now, we've done about 900 kilometres of dirt, because we went all the way up to the top past Columbaroo and camped up there with Derek and Sue and did some fishing. And I ticked off basically half a bucket list thing. I've always wanted to catch like a massive fish, and especially a Spanish mackerel. And I hooked onto a stonking Spanish mackerel and lost half of it to sharks, but it was huge. Like I was holding it up, and I reckon it was like 15 kilos, just the like half the body of this mackerel. It was epic, and we like got it all on film, and it was just like so wild. And like I'm still buzzed. Like I've rewatched the footage, just the clip of the fish, and yeah, it's so epic. It's really like a bucket list thing. And yeah,
I was very proud when you came back that day and showed it.
Yeah,
so stoked that you could catch a huge
it's
fish.
amazing.
Even though it was just half of it.
Yeah.
But you could imagine how big it actually was.
Yeah, and like I don't have any like good gear. Like I've probably got like $150 setup. Like that's my rod and reel. Like I haven't got any of the good stuff, and to be able to stop a fish of that size and get it up to the boat, and yeah, it's pretty epic. Like yeah. So, Patsy, what is your peak and your pit? Start off with your pit, I reckon.
Start with the pit so we can
start low and aim high.
So my pit I am feeling is that like before we started the Gibb, I'd found that we put ourselves into a really good routine in terms of health, because it's sometimes hard to stay or feel healthy while you're traveling. And so we were doing like regular exercise. We kind of changed the way we were eating, and we were eating really healthy, like lots of fresh food and all that sort of thing.
We were on a bit of a tear, weren't we? We were killing it.
And we were feeling so good. Like it's so true what they say about how when you're like exercising and eating better, like you just feel so much clearer, and we're just feeling really good. And then like when we then geared up for the Gibb, you have to obviously do all your shopping for 3 weeks beforehand, and the fresh stuff only lasts like a week and a little bit. So we're well and truly out of all our fresh stuff. We're just kind of like eating whatever we can scrounge together. It's way too hot to do any exercise, although to be fair, the amount of gorge walks and whatnot that we're doing has been helping with that, but still
it's just a different type of exercise. I just feel
like I've lost my routine that we'd kind of gotten ourselves into, and I kind of feel like all that time that we'd spent getting ourselves into that routine is now wasted, because it's all gone away.
And we've had a pretty healthy diet of Great Northern as well, so that doesn't help.
And we've just been like drinking so much alcohol, which Brad and I don't usually drink a lot of alcohol. And if you saw how much we were drinking, you probably wouldn't think it's that much either, but like a couple of beers every night is a lot for us.
Stacks up, it stacks up pretty quick.
And we have been having a few dry nights now to try and
make us feel a little bit
even
healthier.
It out. But I mean, like I wouldn't change it, because it's just what you have to do on the Gibb, and this is like one of those once in a lifetime trips that you don't do all the time. Like in your year of travel, you probably only do this remote sort of trip once.
It's like a holiday within your holiday.
Yeah, for sure. But still, like I've just been feeling quite sluggish and annoyed that I've now lost that good routine that we'd built up.
We'll get it back.
But anyway, moving on to my peak, it kind of relates to that in a way, because it's my peak would just be like traveling with Derek and Sue and little Bobby for I think it's been almost a month now. And I mean, again, like most of the year you're not like, well, we don't travel with people, and then so to be able to just reunite again after a year of not really seeing them, and then actually spend good time together traveling. And you know, like when things have been going wrong on the Gibb, we've been all supporting each other and helping each other out, and it's just nice to be able to like debrief at the end of the day about what's going on. And we get along so well with them, and even just having little Bobby around, like having a dog around
it's awesome having a dog, because we have like pets at home that we miss dearly, and it's it's so good to have a little furry friend just kicking around, and it's free entertainment really.
Every day has been a good day.
Bobby was trying to fight a bull yesterday, so
he is wild. That was actually so scary. We were just like standing there having a beer, watching these bulls, and Bob was on his lead, and he was just watching them, and then all of a sudden
the bull got close enough, and Bobby's like, "I'll have you." I guess they call him a bulldog for a reason, because
and then like Brad like got him out of the way, but then Bob tried to like scare the bull off, but then while Brad was scaring the bull off, Bob like ran around, got himself more lead because he was tangled up, untangled himself, and went at the bull again, and we were just like, oh my god. It was a bit scary.
Bit going on there.
Bit going on.
Yeah, Is that it all for your peak
Yeah.
of the week? I just want to also point out a behind the scenes of what we got going on here. So another pit of the week is for me is where we're sitting right now. So our camp chair, I'll show you. I'll get the extra camera out. So there you are. Hello. This is the situation we've got going on here.
We're sinking.
Our camp chair's sinking right down. So if it looks like I'm a lot shorter than Patsy, it's because I've sunken down quite a bit because I've got a fat ass. So this is what we got going on. Look how crooked my knees are.
We're just making it do.
Yep, but like it's a beautiful backdrop, so how could we not? But yeah, moving on.
Moving on. Another instance of keeping it real. So actually, the next segment that we want to talk about was like money chats. We're thinking each episode of these that we can do, we can have a little segment where we talk about something to do with money or budget, not necessarily like our budget for the week, but we could just pick a certain topic that we then talk more about. And so for this episode, we were going to talk about the costs involved in like gearing up for the Gibb River Road, like gearing up for 3 weeks off grid without having access to facilities and services and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And like the extra costs involved in that. And in the spirit of keeping things real, this is actually the second time that we've tried to film this episode. We did try and film it the other day and it just didn't really...
Yeah, didn't really have it quite worked out the kinks. So this is take 2. So we did. I don't think we nailed the budget part.
We talked really well, I think, about the budget in that first one. And yeah, because we've come down the river here, I've not been able to bring the laptop where the information is, so
we'll cut back to that.
We'll throw that bit in now.
All right.
Okay. Tell me.
Okay, Patsy. So our next segment is about our budget, and it's not about the figures that we spent that week. It's not about the this and that. It's we pick a topic on our budget, and we just sort of do a little bit of a deep dive on what that sort of topic is. And this week's topic is gearing up for 3 weeks off grid.
Yeah, and how that affects your budget.
There's a lot of planning and there's a lot of money spent in a short amount of time, which does hurt in the short term, but we always hope that it pays off in the long term.
Yeah. So I'll bring out my little budget spreadsheet because I've got the figures from when we did gear up. And something to be mindful of too is that, you know, like when people are planning a lap or when people are figuring out how much money they're spending, it's very easy to just come up with like an probably
ideal
spend
number.
like $1,000 a week or something like that. And yeah, that's probably what a normal week you would spend. But then like last week, the gearing up for the Gibb week, we spent $3,300. So that's $2,300 more than normal. So you
bumps
know,
average
it
up quite
really
a bit.
bumps your average up. So that's why it's always, you really need to, you can't just rely on what you think you'll spend each week. You've got to bump it up to cover all those extra things.
Yeah.
But yeah, $3,300 is a lot of money, and I'll explain now why we spent that much money. So the big one obviously was groceries. We had to shop for 3 weeks worth, and even though we're shopping at a Woolies in Broome, like it's still remote up here in WA, Woolies is more expensive than what we've found in other states. So that cost us over $500, and we had to get like some, you know, other meat and bits and pieces, and yeah, and you'd rather have more food than not enough, as we learnt last year at the Cape. We didn't actually have enough food by the end of it.
Yeah, if you don't stock up, or if you don't sort of plan it out, you end up paying like 3 or 4 times the amount that you normally would for food.
How much were those cans the other day? Like a can of beans.
Sue bought like a 4-bean mix, like a can of 4-bean mix, and like it's usually like $1 or $1.50, and she paid $7.50 for it out here. So
you don't want to be stocking up, or like you don't even want to be topping up out here. You only want to be getting stuff that you actually desperately need, you might have run out of, or it might have gone off.
Yeah, and these places up here, they've got to make their money, so you can't blame them. They're only open for about 6 months of the year, or maybe even less.
What they've got to do, but if we can avoid paying a lot of money here, then we will.
Yeah.
So yeah, like over $500 on groceries. Fuel, obviously we had a bit of extra fuel.
Yeah, we're doing a bit of running around, and we had to make sure our tanks were topped off before we
even just to get up here,
started the drive up here.
Yeah, so like $350 on fuel. Then the big ones were to do with the car and getting the car ready for the Gibb, so we had to get a new windscreen replaced.
Yeah, we had a pretty bad crack, and I could see it splitting, and we didn't want to go do it in the Gibb River Road and have our windscreen completely smashed, because then we'd really be in trouble. So yeah, there's a $600 windscreen there.
Yeah, over $600, and then we also booked the ute in for a service.
Yeah,
and that was another like $650.
Which is pretty disappointing, because I have a really good service. I have a really good mechanic at home, and I've found good mechanics on the road, but the last two mechanics that we've taken the car to in WA have just been absolutely shocking and really expensive. So now I think if I'm going to be servicing the car, I think I'm just going to be doing it myself, because these guys don't even do like a half decent job. I get it back, and the air filter's not on properly, and like they haven't even greased any of the nipples on the car, and it's pretty sad, but you're paying top dollar for it.
Yeah,
it's pretty sad, but it is what it is, and it's just that's a lesson that we learnt last week. So I could easily do a service for under $400, a complete service, and
yourself
save a lot of money.
And then and then like when we're home, get our normal mechanic to do a proper service.
Yeah, it does a full run over and does the diff oils and everything, like just pretty much overhauls the car for us. In terms of maintenance, but yeah, that's an extra $600 for a mechanic fee there, which sucked.
And then we also bought an extra spare wheel.
Yeah,
we already had a spare wheel.
We have a spare. I bought an extra spare for the Land Cruiser, because the tires are getting quite old. There's some dry, like it looks like they're dry rotting, or not dry rotting, but they're definitely getting old, and they're past their use by date, and the fatigue that you can see on them, just a little bit uneasy about that. And the difference between replacing all our tyres in Broome and replacing all our tyres in Darwin is a bit over $1,000. So
I thought we'd push it to Darwin.
We've got the tread there, but it's just the age of the tyre. You can tell it's sort of reaching its end of life. So yeah, we paid for an extra tyre just in case for the Land Cruiser, to get us out of trouble if we happen to do another tyre on the Land Cruiser. But we've also got, that's another thing we bought. We bought a tyre pressure monitoring system, which we've been putting off for a long time. So yeah, so now we can monitor our pressures and temperatures a lot easier. And hopefully we can get these tyres
before it goes pop.
Yeah, hopefully we can get these tyres for the car and the van across to Darwin, and then there's another big week in Darwin that we can look forward to replacing all the tyres.
But see, that's what I mean, like you can't base it off $1,000 a week, because you have 1 week, like, you know, everyone has to go and buy a new tyre, pay for a service, or even if you're doing it yourself, it's still $400. Everyone has to probably go and replace a windscreen at some point. Like, you're all going to come across these costs, and the money doesn't just pluck out of thin air. Like, you've got to be ready for it. Like, I just thought I'd add then that extra $2,300 that we spent last week on top of our normal $1,000. If we divide that by 52 weeks, that's an extra like $45 a week that we're now adding on to our average. And then when you think of things like insurances and regos and all the rest of it, like when you average that across your 52 weeks in the year, your actual amount of money that you need per week is a lot more.
It's all dependent on your setup as well, but if you got if you have an off-road van and a four-wheel drive, your numbers are going to be pretty close to ours. Like having a 3.5 ton van and a diesel, and a four-wheel drive that's heavy on diesel or heavy on petrol, your insurances and your running costs are generally going to be pretty close to the same as ours.
Our insurances for the van and the car together are about $5,000 a year. Probably over that.
So it all bumps up the average, but
which works out like another $100 a week if you're averaging.
So there's our budget.
That's the budget.
Budget deep dive.
Budget chats. Okay, moving on to our next segment, which is kind of going to be like a behind the scenes of the episode that just went up. So in this segment, we thought that we would either like talk more about something that happened in the episode, or like explain sort of
what went into making certain parts of the episode.
Or like put something in it that we cut out and kind of talk about why we cut it out. Just kind of, basically, give a behind the scenes look at something from the last episode. And our last episode was our Exmouth whale shark swim and camping at Osprey Bay. That just went up on the weekend. So what are we going to talk about with that today?
So I think being on the Ningaloo reef, like, we did so much snorkeling and diving, it wasn't funny. And if it was a real like recount of our trip along the Cape Range coast, it would have just been like, okay, it's a new day, we're going for a snorkel. Okay, it's a new day, going for a snorkel. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Morning, we're going for a snorkel. Okay, I've had lunch. Afternoon, we're going for a snorkel. We snorkeled that much.
It would get so old and
boring.
Yeah, pretty boring. So actually, like, I just want to keep it real and say that like all the snorkeling that you saw in that video was like an accumulation of probably like 4 or 5 dives that we went on. But in reality, it was only like 2 parts of the video. So like, it was like, oh, we're going for a snorkel today. And then there's like maybe 3 days worth of diving. And then, oh, we're going for a snorkel tomorrow. All the things and like that we saw along the dive, like there's quite like they're all those things that we saw, like the turtles and the fish. Like, it's not like they weren't there on certain days. But it's just like, we got all the best bits and put them all together.
Yeah, literally. Because otherwise, if we had an episode where we showed chronologically each snorkel and what we saw in each snorkel, that would just be so boring. Because
you're like, oh, okay, another dive. All right, I'll tune out now. Try to keep it, in the interest of trying to keep it fun and interesting and still showcase like what we experienced. We had to really condense that down, and probably had like hours of underwater footage that we compiled into maybe 5 or 10 minutes of footage. So
also, if you're watching that and thinking like, wow, like you were so lucky and saw so much stuff. I mean, we were, but we're also underwater for
quite a long time.
So much time, and like we didn't film all of it.
No, we didn't also take a camera in every time we went snorkeling. But we love snorkeling and diving. It's literally my favourite thing to do. And being underwater on the Ningaloo is just the best.
And that's what we have struggled with lately. Well, you've struggled with making the episodes. Is it feels like every episode lately is based on snorkeling. Like we've been doing
basically
so
since
much
Quabba. Like when we were in Quabba, that was probably 3 or 4 episodes ago.
And whilst we love the snorkeling, we're also mindful that a whole episode of underwater snorkeling footage is probably not going to cut the mustard.
No. But you guys have enjoyed, we've got a lot of great feedback on the underwater footage. So
but
I guess the way we put it together,
it's
been good. Cut it down and keep it interesting, keep it cool. So thanks for the good comments on the snorkeling stuff, because we love putting it in also. So
so that pretty much brings us to the end of our first episode of our Australia trip recapped. Thank you for watching if you've watched to this point. We also thought that it could be a good opportunity for us to answer some questions in these episodes. So if you do have an episode that you want us to chat about, drop it in the comments and we could answer it in an upcoming one. Or if you have like any feedback on the kind of segments we did in this episode, or any segment ideas that you have for us, pop them in as well, because this is a new format for us and we're kind of finding our feet with it. So
and it's more personal. We want it to be more for the viewer rather than for ourselves. So if you got anything that you want to hear or want us to talk about, then don't be shy.
Because when you say that, like, more for the viewer, our philosophy, I guess you could say, with our travel episodes is that yes, we're making them and there's a lot of people watching them, but first and foremost we're making them for us to have and be able to look back on. And that's why we don't usually put a lot of the uncut stuff in them. Whereas these episodes are more so for the viewer and the audience, and trying to give more information that you guys might be interested in. So please let us know if there are things that you want us to talk more about or less about.
And I just want to thank everyone also for yesterday. We hit a massive milestone where we reached 10,000 subscribers on YouTube, which is just like mind-blowing to us. And so I want to thank each and every one of you that's viewed, left a comment, liked, subscribed, just and supported the videos, shared it to Facebook or any of those things. Like, it's been really like a great journey that we've been on, and we're so grateful that we can share it with the people that want to do it, the people that may not be able to do it, and just each and every one of you. Like, thank you.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
And thanks for buying us beers as well, because
definitely.
It also helps us continue making the content, and in you buying us a beer, it supports the channel and supports the content.
Because as you know, we do stop and work along the way, and we are planning to stop again soon. However, when we do next stop, we'll only have to stop for a shorter amount of time because of the support that we're receiving from everyone. So it's good that you're able to help us make more content instead of having to stop when we stop to work.
All right, well,
so
let's wrap it up.
That wraps up this episode.
Thank you for watching.
And we'll see you in the next one.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Right, bye-bye. How beautiful is this backdrop? We've got little like kingfishers and kookaburras, and oh, it's awesome. Look, they're just flying around everywhere. There's one up there. Hello, buddy. Very cool. All right.